Oh, good boy. There's that pesky brain. Here's a tissue. Now, don't you feel better, my dear lad?
TV?
Why do I have a feeling if this game were made today, they would be saying Twitter, Twitter, instead of TV? Greetings, everybody. My name's Tommy the Game Master, and welcome to my channel. Well, folks, I hate to break some really bad news, but I just played through Psychonauts, and you know what? I don't think it's really a good game. Don't get me wrong, what they do good here is actually really great, but it screws up so much on the fundamentals of action platforming, like, making sure that you're giving good directions so you know where to go, especially in a stage where you're panicked and have to reach an area quickly, or whether or not you even missed or got into a platform or foothold. And of course, having good hitboxes on the enemies to feel like you're really damaging the enemy before they damage you, it screws up in those areas. I ran into so much basic problems in the games and just frustrations towards the end of the game that I said, screw it, I'll watch the ending on YouTube. Well, it's certainly not the worst platformer of its age. That reward still goes to Mario Sunshine. But saying it's better than Mario Sunshine is not a compliment either. Let us look at what it got right and a lot of what it got wrong with Psychonauts.
A 3-pound pile of dreams. But I'll tell you what it really is. It is the ultimate battlefield.
The story is easily the best part of the game. Not only because it's so narratively creative, but that creativity bends into the stage design so wonderfully. And the stages are really memorable and all for the right reasons, at least when it comes to their themes. Basically, you follow Raz, an escapee from the circus who has joined this psychic boot camp, getting to know the kids and the rather unique instructors. But this is really only the first hour or two of the game. After that, night falls and Raz notices that the kids are losing their brains, becoming mindless zombies who just want to watch TV.
Look, I can explain. TV!
It seems like an evil dentist and one of the camp counselors, Coach Oleander, is behind the situation, and Raz now has to break into the mental institution that is across the lake in order to save his fellow counselors by hopping a ride in a mutant fish to get there, by the way. What makes the game unique is the camp and the insane asylum are just your hub worlds. What are the actual stages are inside people's psyches, and there you get some unique stories, especially once you hit the mental asylum, where you see the stages play out both past trauma and mental illnesses that the characters that you're going inside are going through at present. As Raz enters people's mind by throwing a little door onto their head, one of the stages, the Milkman Conspiracy, as far as the story goes, is the most unique stage I've probably played in a video game that puts you in the mind of someone suffering from paranoid schizophrenia, as you have to dodge agents that are out to get you and grab items that let you get past them. Unfortunately, this is also the stage that shows one of the biggest flaws in the game, especially when it comes to pacing and flow, but I'll get to that one later. Others including having to play Risk with Napoleon, getting inside an old stage actor's head whose past trauma with her mother has let her inner critic go out of control, and a wrestler who is still obsessed with a lost love that he had younger in his life that he's still angry over the events that happened. And the way the stage is set up, especially that last one with the Spanish bullfighter motif, is really unique. Throw in some humorous and out there characters and a lot of ideas for stage designs, like entering a world of a monster's mind and you being a giant kaiju is a very interesting idea. So where does it all fall apart? Well, let's talk about the gameplay. Psychonauts is a 3D platformer that was released on the PS2, filled with a lot of problems with platformers of that era. Things like way too much crap to collect to know what to do with, and most of it useless. As you journey your way through stages, you will find things like little mental pictures you will have to collect in order to level up. There are also cards, little pods that will also increase your Psychonaut level. So what does leveling up do? The answer to that is not much. Basically, leveling up will eventually give you a new power to install, but most of these powers only come useful in some situation. You think setting things on fire would be cool and useful with pyrokinesis, but with a few exceptions, it's worthless and can even be dangerous to use. All the ones you need, like levitation, come just from progressing through the game regularly. The game's pacing might also be a bit problematic. While hanging out with the kids in camp at the beginning of the game is okay, it really doesn't take off and the worlds don't become interesting until you hit the mental institution. So several hours, the worlds are kind of a bit on the basic side. And then when I did hit the mental institution, the game decided to hit me with its largest wall to proceed yet. In order to beat the Milkman conspiracy stage, I needed to grab some cobwebs and clear them out. To do that, I have to buy an expensive item, so I have to collect arrowheads. But not enough to really buy this expensive item, but to buy a tuner so I find hidden arrowheads that will help me finally get enough to buy this super expensive item to clear the spider webs out. This is an enormous pain in the butt, by the way, and it completely blocked my progress. It took me several weeks to get back into the game after I ran through this roadblock. I didn't enjoy it at all. And this is on top of the items that are available in the rest of the shop are kind of meh and not worth really backtracking later in the game to purchase. Oh yeah, there's also these like mental baggages that you have to find tags for, but I had no idea what the point had as far as gameplay of clearing these things out. And then there are like these moving saves that you can punch that when you open up will give you some backstory of the people whose minds you're delving into and give you a bit more backstory. I did enjoy finding these, but I have no idea what the mental baggage does or clearing it out. To me, it's just another pointless MacGuffin hunt, just to add a pointless MacGuffin hunt to all the stuff you already have to collect. And then there's the platforming. Not all the action platforming stages are bad. There's some good in it, but the best stages often are the ones that center more around puzzle and story elements. You know, kind of like point and click adventures like Grim Fandango, which is what gave Tim Schafer his name. But oftentimes towards the end of the game did I find myself in platforming scenarios where jumping and running around, just sliding off platforms or not knowing where to land on them to get Raz to fully stick so I could get to the next platform. And it happened multiple times. By the end of the game, I was like, screw it, I'll just watch the YouTube video, then try to complete this one segment, because getting Raz to land on this platform so he gets booted up to the right place was a 50-50 chance at best. Oftentimes he just slipped off, and I was fed up and tired of it. Throw in areas where hit detections on both you and the enemies are bad, where you should have hit a boss, but it counts as a miss because you weren't standing in the exact right area, but it should have still connected, but it does no damage. That happens a lot during some of the end boss fights. All these problems make the game more frustrating than it needs to be. The uneven pacing, the fact that I have to stop and look for power-ups in the main area to continue, kind of makes this game feel like there is no pacing, like the pacing is broken, and it ends up being more frustrating instead of fun, which is such a shame because the stage design and the ideas of the stage design are just so great that you have this uneven pace backing it up. Well, considering how this game came out almost 20 years ago, I'd say the graphics are pretty good. They kind of remind me a lot of Nickelodeon cartoons from that era. If they were done on purpose, kind of with this cheap computer graphic look, it gives the game a unique look and feel. If you want to see a stage that I think holds up pretty well for the most part, just take a look at the artist stage, where all the colors are neon. It looks really cool and holds up well today. Would I like to see one day get an HD paint job? The answer to that is I would like an HD paint job of this, and they could fix a few of the controls and other kind of glitches I talked about in the gameplay to make it even better. This game does deserve a bit of an upgrade if you ask me. As far as the voice acting goes, you got some really good voice acting. I hear there's a lot of Nickelodeon stars, including Invader Zim's voice actor being the main character in this. I thought the voice acting again sounded good. Reminds me of a Nickelodeon cartoon from the 2000s era, and I think that's kind of what they were going for. The music itself is not too bad. Nothing to really write home about, though. Anyways, as far as my final recommendation goes, I can understand why a lot of people like this game. It has some humor and charm to it and some really unique ideas. And if it had been more an adventure game, I think it would have been a lot of fun to play. But as a platformer, it fails in the basics. There are oftentimes not enough clues of where and what to do next, even in areas where you have to keep moving to avoid being drowned by raising water like this part, or other areas where you have to grab hold of platforms and just fall through. There's just way too much of that for me to give Psychonauts a solid recommendation. If you can get it at a cheap price, you like Tim Schafer's games like Grim Fandango, it might be worth checking it out. If you fall into that category, you might love the story and the presentation. But everyone else, I don't think you're going to enjoy this game. It just has too many flaws, both due to its age and I think just some poor design decisions for me to really steadily recommend this game. You guys have a great day. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. Hope to see you guys soon.
Incoming! Now,